I still can't forget the moment my stepmom cornered my boss at a swanky charity gala smirking and said, "Fire her. She's just a phone answerer." Then she shoved my sister forward, bragging she'd outdo me tenfold. She had no idea I held all the cards. Years of her sneering at me, always hyping my sister over family dinners, pushed me past every limit. That night when the truth hit their faces, went pale, frozen in shock. I wasn't the nobody they thought. Before we dive into this story, drop a comment letting me know where you're from. Hit that subscribe button to hear my journey from answering phones to owning the company. I'm Brittany Hayes, 32, and growing up in Round Rock, Texas taught me early that love in a family isn't always equal. My mom died when I was 5, her warm laugh replaced by cold silences after Dad remarried Deborah. She brought Michelle, my stepsister, into our home, and it was clear from day one who mattered more. Deborah's eyes lit up for Michelle's every giggle while I got sharp glances or ignored. Dad Ronald Hayes tried to bridge the gap, sneaking me ice cream after Deborah's scoldings, but his job at the bank kept him away. By 10, I knew my place, the outsider in my own house, always trailing Michelle's shine. Deborah never missed a chance to remind me. At dinner, she'd gush over Michelle's school projects, her messy drawings pinned proudly on the fridge, while my straight-A report cards earned a shrug. "Don't get cocky, Brittany," she'd say, her voice dripping disdain. Michelle soaked it up, mimicking Deborah's smirk by 12. Dad would squeeze my hand under the table, his quiet way of saying he saw me, but it didn't dull the sting. I'd escape to my room staring at Mom's old photo, her smile urging me to keep going. Those nights I promised myself I'd make something of my life, no matter how small they made me feel. When I was 16, Dad got sick. Lung cancer stole him fast. His death left a hole nothing could fill. At his funeral, Deborah played the grieving widow, clutching Michelle, while I stood alone clutching his last letter to me. He'd written it days before, his handwriting shaky. "Brittany, you're stronger than you know. Chase your dreams, don't let anyone stop you." I read it until the paper creased, hiding it from Deborah's prying eyes. She sold Dad's truck for $10,000 a week later, claiming it was for family expenses, but Michelle got new clothes and a laptop. I got nothing except that letter, my only tether to him. College was my way out. I earned a scholarship to the University of Texas in Austin, majoring in business administration. Deborah scoffed when I told her, said I was wasting time on books when I could work retail like her. Michelle, starting high school, chimed in. "Why bother? You're not cut out for big stuff." But I buried myself in studies, acing classes while working part-time at a coffee shop. My professor, Dr. Susan Perry, saw my knack for strategy, keeping my papers to show others. "You could run a company someday," she said. Her words stuck a spark in the dark of Deborah's doubts. Graduation came in 2015, but the job market was brutal. After 50 applications and 20 interviews, I landed a customer service gig at TrendVibe, an e-commerce startup in Austin selling trendy clothes. The pay, $25,000 a year, barely covered my tiny apartment, but it was mine. I called Deborah to share the news, hoping for once she'd be proud. Answering phones, she laughed. "That's all you're good for, Brittany. Michelle's interning at a marketing firm, she's going places." Her words burned, but I swallowed them, vowing to prove her wrong. TrendVibe's office buzzed with ambition, sleek desks, young staff dreaming big. My desk sat in a noisy call center, handling customer complaints about late shipments or wrong sizes. It felt worlds away from my business degree, but I saw it as a foot in the door. I listened to every call, noting patterns, why orders got delayed, how customers reacted. At night, I studied e-commerce trends, reading about supply chains and customer retention until my eyes stung. Deborah's voice mocking me as a phone answerer echoed, but Dad's letter kept me grounded. 6 months in, I found TrendVibe's employee stock purchase program. The company was growing fast, but its stock was undervalued a steal at $5 a share. I scraped together every spare cent, $200 a month, to buy shares, believing in TrendVibe's potential. My coworkers laughed, diversifying their savings, but I doubled down. If I couldn't climb the ladder yet, I'd own a piece of it. That choice, quiet and deliberate, set me on a path Deborah couldn't imagine. Life in Austin felt like a fresh start, but family ties pulled me back. Deborah called one evening, her voice syrupy sweet, an act I knew too well. Brittany Michelle's turning 25 next week. We're throwing a big party in Round Rock. You should come, family matters, right? I gripped the phone, memories of her sneers flooding back, but something in me stirred, maybe a chance to show I wasn't the failure she thought. I'll be there, I said, my voice steady, already bracing for the drama I knew was coming. I drove to Round Rock for Michelle's 25th birthday party with a knot in my stomach, knowing Deborah's invite wasn't about family, but a chance to show me up. The house glowed with string lights, laughter spilling out, but stepping inside felt like walking into a trap. Deborah greeted me with a fake smile, her perfume sharp as her tone. "Brittany, so glad you made it," she said, already turning to Michelle, radiant in a glittery dress. Guests fawned over Michelle, her new marketing job, her charm, while I stood clutching a cheap wine bottle, invisible again. Deborah pulled me aside, her voice low but cutting. "You should learn from Michelle, she's a star, not stuck answering phones like you." Michelle overheard, smirking, and added, "Yeah, Brittany, when are you getting a real job?" The room blurred. I wanted to scream, but bit my tongue, nodding stiffly. I tried to explain my work at TrendVibe, how I was learning the business from the ground up, but Deborah cut me off. "Listening to complaints all day, that's not a career, it's a dead end." Her laugh sliced through me, guests glancing over, some chuckling. Michelle raised her glass, toasting her own success, and Deborah beamed like she'd raised a queen. I slipped out to the porch, the cool night air steadying my shaking hands. Dad's letter tucked in my purse felt heavy. "Chase your dreams," he'd written. Deborah's words burned, but they fueled me too. I left the party early, vowing never to let her humiliate me like that again. Back at TrendVibe, I threw myself into work, determined to prove them wrong. The call center was chaos, angry customers, endless tickets, but I saw opportunities others missed. I noticed our system lagged, losing orders, frustrating clients. Over a weekend, I drafted a plan to streamline it faster, tracking better communication. Monday, I pitched it to my manager, Travis Newman, a slick guy with a knack for taking credit. "Interesting," he said, skimming my 10-page report. "I'll pass it up." His smile didn't reach his eyes, but I trusted him, my mistake. 2 weeks later, at a team meeting, Travis presented my plan as his own. "This'll save us thousands," he boasted, earning claps from our CEO, Stephen Brooks. I froze, my report's words echoing in his voice. When I confronted him after, he shrugged. "Ideas don't have names, Brittany. Welcome to the game." The betrayal stung, but worse was yet to come. I'd been quietly planning something bigger, buying enough TrendVibe stock to gain influence. My savings, $5,000 so far, went into shares at $5 each, and I'd shared my strategy with Lindsay Carter, a former coworker I thought was a friend. We'd grab coffee, venting about Travis, and I trusted her with my plan, leverage stock to climb higher. But Lindsay saw an opportunity, not to help me, but to hurt me. She went to Travis, spilling everything. "Brittany's scheming to take over," she told him, twisting my ambition into a threat. Travis ran to Stephen, painting me as disloyal. By Friday, I was called into Stephen's office, his face stern. "What's this about you plotting against the company?" he asked. My heart sank. Lindsay's words had nearly cost me my job. I explained my stock purchases were legal, part of the employee program, and showed Stephen my savings records, proving my loyalty. He nodded, unconvinced, but backing off. "Keep your head down, Brittany," he warned. I left, shaking. Lindsay's betrayal cutting deeper than Travis's theft. She avoided me. After her desk empty by week's end, she'd quit, probably fearing I'd retaliate. But I didn't have time for revenge. I had to protect my plan. That night, I locked my files, vowing to trust no one. Amid the chaos, a lifeline appeared. Karen Walsh, our operations director, stopped by my desk one evening. At 50, she was sharp, known for seeing what others missed. "You're the one who wrote that system plan, aren't you?" she asked, her eyes piercing. I hesitated, then nodded. Travis didn't come up with that. He's all flash, no substance. She slid me a folder. I need someone smart for a project customer retention analysis. You in? My pulse raced, finally a chance to shine. Absolutely, I said, gripping the folder like a ticket out. Karen's trust gave me new fire, but I needed more than a project to secure my future. I'd been researching TrendVibe's finances. Its stock was still cheap, and the company was ripe for a takeover. I reached out to Patricia Coleman, a venture capitalist I'd met at a networking event. At 60, she had a reputation for backing underdogs. Over coffee, I laid out my vision, TrendVibe's potential. My stock holdings, my insider knowledge. Why you? She asked, leaning back. Because I know this company's heart, its flaws, its strengths, and I'm not afraid to fight for it. Her nod was slight, but it was enough. Let's talk numbers, she said, pulling out her phone. That moment sitting across from Patricia felt like the start of something unstoppable. Patricia Coleman's agreement to hear me out was a spark in the dark. My first real shot at turning TrendVibe into something I could control. Sitting in that Austin coffee shop, her sharp eyes studying me, I felt the weight of every choice I'd made since Deborah's sneers at Michelle's party. I'd spent nights poring over financial reports, learning how stocks worked, how companies like TrendVibe valued at $20 million could be reshaped. Patricia, a venture capitalist with 60 years of bets on underdogs, leaned forward. You're bold, Brittany, but bold doesn't buy companies. Show me the math. I slid her my plan, pages of numbers charting TrendVibe's growth, its undervalued stock at $5 a share, my own holdings of 1,000 shares bought with $5,000. I know every weak link in this company, I said. Give me the capital and I'll fix them. She tapped her pen once, twice, then nodded. I'm listening. We formed Hayes Vision, a shell company, to hide my moves. The name was my quiet nod to Dad Ronald Hayes, who'd told me to chase dreams. Patricia brought two smaller investors, each willing to sink $1 million into our plan to buy controlling shares. My role was knowledge. Every client complaint I'd fielded, every system flaw I'd spotted gave me an edge no outsider had. But the work was grueling. By day, I answered calls at TrendVibe's call center, dodging Travis Newman's smirks. He'd stolen my system plan and gotten a raise. By night, I studied finance balance sheets, acquisitions, market trends, my eyes burning from screen glare. Deborah's voice still echoed dead-end job, but I pushed it aside. If she knew I was plotting to own the company, her smugness would shatter. Keeping my plan secret was harder than I expected. Travis, now a senior manager, had eyes everywhere. One afternoon, he leaned against my desk, his cologne too strong. Heard you're dabbling in stocks, Brittany. Playing with the big boys. His grin was a warning. I forced a laugh, shrugging. Just saving for a rainy day. But his words chilled me. Someone was talking. Lindsay Carter's betrayal still stung. She'd leaked my stock plan to Travis, nearly getting me fired. I couldn't risk another slip. I stopped discussing my finances even with coworkers I liked and locked my notes in a safe at home, $500 well spent. Travis didn't stop. By week's end, whispers spread through the office. Brittany's up to something shady, a colleague muttered, avoiding my eyes. The rumors hit Stephen Brooks, our CEO, who called me in. His office, sleek glass and leather, felt like a courtroom. What's this about you scheming behind our backs? He asked, arms crossed. My pulse raced, but I stayed calm. I'm investing in TrendVibe's stock, same as any employee. Check my records. I handed him my purchase logs showing every share bought legally at $5 each. He scanned them, his frown softening. Fine, but no funny business, he said, waving me out. I left heart pounding. Travis's rumors had nearly derailed me. The close call made me double down. I met Patricia weekly, refining our strategy. TrendVibe stock was climbing $6 a share now, but still undervalued. We needed 37% of shares to control the board, a goal just within reach with Patricia's capital. I poured every spare dollar, another $2,000, into more shares, my savings now nearly gone. Patricia noticed my strain. You're burning out, she said over coffee, her voice firm. This isn't just about money, it's about staying sharp. I nodded, but sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. Deborah's face smirking at Michelle's party kept me awake, her words a whip driving me forward. Convincing Patricia's investors was my next hurdle. At a meeting in downtown Austin, two men in crisp suits grilled me. Why trust a call center girl with no experience? One asked, eyebrow raised. I didn't flinch. Because I've lived TrendVibe's failures, lost orders, angry clients, and I know how to fix them. Check my plan. I handed them my analysis, 10 pages detailing TrendVibe's supply chain gaps, customer churn, and growth potential. The second investor, quieter, nodded. You've done your homework. By meeting's end, they pledged $1 million each, swayed by my grit and numbers. Patricia smiled, rare for her. You're not just bold, you're undeniable. As the board meeting loomed, my fear wasn't just Travis, it was Deborah and Michelle. If they caught wind of my plan, they'd twist it. Deborah had called twice since the party, her tone sickly sweet. Come visit Brittany, Michelle misses you. I doubted that, but her calls unsettled me. What if she showed up in Austin? What if Michelle, with her marketing job, had industry contacts? The thought of them at the gala where Stephen might invite me made my stomach twist. I couldn't let them ruin this. Days before the board meeting, Stephen stopped by my desk, his usual sternness gone. Brittany, we're hosting a charity gala next week, big clients, investors. I want you there, representing TrendVibe. His words caught me off guard, a chance to network, but a risk too. I'll be there, I said, masking my dread. The gala was where everything could collide, my plan, my enemies, my family. As I watched Stephen walk away, I gripped my desk knowing the stakes had just gotten higher. The charity gala at Austin's downtown convention center glittered with wealth chandeliers, sparkling champagne flutes clinking, but I stepped inside with a storm in my chest. Stephen Brooks, TrendVibe's CEO, had invited me to represent the company, a chance to network with big clients. But after Travis Newman's rumors and my secret plan with Patricia Coleman to buy TrendVibe, every smile felt like a trap. I wore a navy dress bought for $200 on sale, hoping it screamed confidence, not call center girl. My hand smoothed it obsessively, scanning the crowd for threats. I didn't expect the worst one to be family. Deborah appeared first, her red dress screaming for attention, Michelle trailing in sleek black. My stomach dropped. They shouldn't be here. Deborah's eyes locked on mine, her smirk sharp as a blade. Brittany. What a surprise, she purred, but her tone said, I didn't belong. Michelle flicked her hair, smirking too. Still answering phones, she asked loud enough for nearby guests to glance over. I forced a smile, biting back the urge to snap. I'm here for work, I said, voice steady. Deborah's laugh, cold and cutting, echoed. Work. You're lucky to have a job at all. Before I could respond, she spotted Stephen across the room and made a beeline, dragging Michelle along. My heart sank. I knew trouble was coming. I stayed back chatting with a client about TrendVibe's growth, but my eyes tracked Deborah. She cornered Stephen near the bar, her gestures animated, Michelle nodding beside her. I edged closer, catching fragments of her voice, sharp, insistent. You should fire Brittany, she said loud enough for heads to turn. She's incompetent, just a phone answerer. My daughter Michelle would be perfect for your team. Michelle preened, handing Stephen her card. My blood boiled, but dread froze me. Stephen's face was unreadable, his head tilting as Deborah rambled. Then his voice cut through, calm but firm. You're mistaken, Mrs. Hayes. Brittany owns TrendVibe, she's the majority shareholder. The room seemed to still. Deborah's jaw dropped. Michelle's card slipping from her fingers. I stepped forward, heart pounding, no longer hiding. That's right, I said, my voice carrying. I bought the company last month through Hayes Vision. I'm not your employee, Stephen. I'm your boss. Deborah's face drained of color, her smirk gone. Michelle stammered. That's impossible, but her eyes betrayed panic. Guests whispered their stares heavy, but I stood tall. You thought I was nothing. I told Deborah, my voice low but fierce. You were wrong. Stephen nodded to me, a rare respect, then turned away, leaving Deborah and Michelle in their shock. Deborah tried to speak, but I walked past, done with her games. The gala blurred after that. Clients congratulated me, their handshakes firm, but my mind was on the board meeting 2 days later. Patricia and I had secured 37% of TrendVibe's shares valued at $7 million, with my 5% pushing us over the edge. The boardroom was sterile mahogany table tense faces, but I felt alive. Travis Newman sat across smug until I walked in with Patricia and our legal team. What's she doing here? He demanded. But Patricia shut him down. Representing Hayes Vision, the largest shareholder. I laid out our plan, streamlined operations, new markets, a vision I'd built from years of calls and late nights. The board listened, some nodding, others stunned. Travis's face twisted when I revealed my ownership. A call center girl, he scoffed. I met his eyes. A call center girl who outsmarted you. The vote was tight, hours of debate, Travis arguing to keep control, but numbers don't lie. Hayes Vision secured 3 board seats with me joining the executive committee. Stephen would stay CEO for a transition, but my voice now carried weight. Travis resigned that afternoon, his email citing new opportunities, but everyone knew the truth: he'd lost. I left the boardroom steady, Patricia's hand on my shoulder. You did it, she said, her voice warm. I nodded, but the victory felt hollow. Deborah's face at the gala lingered. That night, my phone rang. Deborah. Her voice was soft, almost pleading. Brittany, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Let's talk. I stared at the screen, her words clashing with years of sneers. Not now, I said, hanging up. Her apology felt like another act too late to erase the scars. I wasn't ready to forgive, not yet. Instead, I focused on TrendVibe. The next morning, I walked into the office, same noisy call center, but different eyes on me. Whispers followed, some awed, some wary. I sat at my desk, pulling up reports, planning changes, faster systems, better training, a company that saw its people. The real work was just beginning. Walking into TrendVibe's office the morning after the board meeting felt different, the same noisy call center, but the air carried a new weight. Eyes followed me, some curious, some respectful, others wary. I'd gone from the phone answerer to the woman who owned the company, and the whispers proved it. My desk, cluttered with customer complaint logs, was still mine, but my focus had shifted. I wasn't just fixing orders anymore. I was reshaping TrendVibe into something better. The gala's shock still lingered, Deborah's pale face, Michelle's stammer, but I pushed them aside. Owning TrendVibe, valued at $20 million, wasn't the end. It was the start of a legacy I'd build on my terms. My first move was restructuring. TrendVibe's systems, clunky and slow, bled money. I slashed redundant management layers, saving $1 million annually, and opened direct channels between departments. Call center staff like me knew the company's pulse, but their voices were ignored. I changed that, mandating weekly feedback sessions. Stephen Brooks, still CEO during the transition, raised an eyebrow at my pace. You're moving fast, he said, in a meeting, his tone cautious. I met his gaze. We've waited long enough. Karen Walsh, my mentor, nodded from across the table, her quiet support worth more than Stephen's approval. By month's end, customer complaints dropped 10%, a small win, but mine. The real change came with the Walsh Initiative, a program I named to honor Karen. TrendVibe's call center was full of talent, people like I'd been overlooked for their titles. I poured $200,000 into training, data analysis, marketing, leadership. Find the hidden gems, I told my team, and give them a path up. Karen teared up when I announced it at a staff meeting, her first public crack in 50 years of Steel. You're crazy, she whispered later, smiling. Crazy enough to see you, I replied. The initiative wasn't just for her, it was for every Brittany out there grinding in the shadows. One of those gems was Holly Bennett, a 24-year-old in the call center. I noticed her during a feedback session. She'd tracked complaint patterns, her notes sharper than most managers. "Holly, what's your background?" I asked after her shy smile reminding me of myself. "Business degree, University of Texas, class of 22, she said, eyes down. Thought I'd be further by now. I handed her a Walsh Initiative application. "You will be. Show me what you've got." A week later, she joined our analytics team, her first report saving $10,000 in shipping errors. Watching her present it confident, precise, I saw my own path reflected. "You didn't have to do this," she said after. I shrugged. "Someone saw me once. Now it's your turn." Work consumed me, but Deborah's shadow lingered. A week after the gala, a letter arrived, her handwriting neat, unfamiliar. "Brittany, I was wrong." It began, words spilling regret. She admitted underestimating me, hurting me, and begged to meet. "Michelle feels awful too," she wrote, but I doubted that. The letter sat on my desk for days. Part of me wanted to believe her, but years of sneers drowned it out. Deborah's voice, dead-end job learned from Michelle, still cut deep. I wasn't ready to forgive, not when her apology felt like a reaction to my power, not my pain. I slipped the letter into a drawer unanswered, choosing my future over her past. Michelle stayed silent. No calls, no letters. I heard through a cousin she'd landed a new marketing job in Dallas, probably fleeing the gossip my rise sparked in Round Rock. I didn't care. Her smirks at the gala were enough. Deborah called once more, leaving a voicemail I deleted unheard. My focus was TrendVibe, not family ties that only tightened when I won. Maybe one day I'd face them, but not now. My victory wasn't proving them wrong, it was building something they couldn't touch. 6 months in, TrendVibe's numbers told the story. Revenue climbed 15% thanks to faster systems and happier customers. The Austin Business Journal ran a piece, "From Call Center to Corner Office, Brittany Hayes' Rise." They called my ownership a gamble, $7 million in shares, but the results shut down doubters. I taped the article to my office wall, not for pride, but as a reminder, scrutiny never stops. Deborah's letter came up in my mind sometimes, but I pushed it away. She'd shaped me not with love, but with every slight that fueled my fire. The Walsh Initiative grew, training 20 employees in its first year. Holly wasn't alone. Others like her, buried in low roles, shone when given a chance. I met with them weekly, hearing their ideas, seeing myself in their hunger. "You're changing lives," Karen said once, her voice soft. I shook my head. "Just opening doors." But deep down I knew she was right. Success wasn't owning TrendVibe, it was making sure no one else had to claw their way up like I did. Late one night, alone in my office, still feeling like it belonged to someone else, I reflected on the journey. From answering phones for $25,000 a year to signing deals worth millions, from Deborah's sneers to boardroom votes, I'd rewritten my story. But the real win was bigger. I'd built a company that saw potential where others saw nothing. Dad's letter, creased and faded, sat framed on my desk. "Chase your dreams," he'd written. I had, and I wasn't done. If you're watching this, you've heard my story, from a nobody to the owner of TrendVibe. I want to hear yours. Drop a comment below. When did someone count you out, and how did you prove them wrong? Hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to know their place doesn't define their potential. The ones dismissed today might own the world tomorrow. Thanks for listening, and here's to your own fight, whatever it takes.